Welcome to this talk show, The Fight to See the Unseen in Our Global Water. Dear attendees of the World Water Week, dear friends and colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen, we want to use this time to talk about the unseen threat in our water. How can you detect COVID-19 in wastewater or avoid PFAS in drinking water? And even better, how can you use decontamination to make water clean? And to talk more about this today, I have with me here on stage Victoria Ordsmith, who is the Director for Business Development and Marketing at Microsaic. And she is responsible for all business development and marketing for Microsaic globally, as well as assisting partners with end customers engagement. And she is based in London. And also John Shepherd. And you have recently joined Modern Water as the EU-UK Business Development Manager, and you have 20 years of experience in the water industry and a detailed technical knowledge also of analytics lab instruments and regions and so on. And you're based in Ireland.
That's right.
Yes. Very warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Åsa.
Nice to see you. Which problems will your technical solutions help solve? What do you say, Victoria?
Yeah, so the Modern Water Microsaic partnership is really focusing on the developing and introducing of new innovative technology. So we've been working with Modern Water to help develop the microtox pathogen detector, which John will go into more detail in, and also the introducing detection of PFAS and forever chemicals in water and our global water supply. So we at Microsaic develop miniaturized mass spectrometry, and we've been working with the team at Modern Water to implement our mass spectrometer into the lab in the van. And we can then take that in field and look at mobile monitoring of these chemicals and other toxins through the environment. Together with our expertise and Modern Water's expertise, we're really a solutions provider. So we're here to listen to the customer's problems and put together bespoke solutions to help solve those problems. This could be in the lab, online, in-field monitoring, and we're here to offer either equipment or a rental of equipment. It could be even just the data sets that the customer wants at the end, and we do all of the analysis, kind of anywhere in between. And we're working with utility companies, environmental agencies, and then also industry that are looking to kind of do better with their impact on the environment.
Great, thank you. Do you want to add something to this, John?
I do also, yeah. For Modern Water, the list is long. We have a 30-year history from developing the first toxicity tests. We're analyzing waters and soils. Our toxicity test is a global gold standard. So we're able to monitor some 2,700 contaminants in one test, as well as looking at the synergistic and antagonistic effects of those tests. In addition to toxicity, then, we measure contaminants, explosives, pesticides. We're able to measure organics and inorganic compounds, as well as moving into new analyses, such as the world's first COVID analyzer. Our Microtox PD is able to measure pathogens, bacteria. As we get smaller and smaller, we can measure viruses and parts of viruses. We're also moving into microplastics, forever chemicals as well. So the list is long and it continues to grow. Customers previously unseen challenges are now seen. We can detect, we can measure, we can allow informed data decisions.
Great, thank you. And I'll start with you, John, could you tell us about a specific case where you have used this technology?
Yeah, certainly. So as I said before, we have 30 years applications history using our Microtox toxicity test. Along with this 30-year history, we've built up a bibliography. We have some 650 peer-reviewed papers where customers have used the test to determine specific contaminants and their effects, their toxicity on human health, on environmental situations, on watercourses. We, as I say, we measure not only pure compounds, but the synergistic and antagonistic effects. So we measure toxins within a matrix, not a single measurement, an effect on a watercourse, for example, an effect that a customer would see in abstracting water for treatment into a drinking water works. So we're able to look at many different effects which have direct impact on treatment processes, the environment, and human health. Our customers include the Olympics. Our solutions have been used at every Summer Olympics for the last 10 occasions. We'll be using our continuous real-time measurements at the Football World Cup in Qatar this year. It's part of a large program where the customer will be measuring a lot of potential contaminants as part of a water security program. In addition to this, we have industrial customers. We have a customer who wishes to fill an old quarry using soil taken from development sites. To do so, they need to accept the load. To accept the load, they need to be sure that the organics or the polyaromatic hydrocarbons are low. At the moment, a site is selected, a sample is taken, the sample is transferred often thousands of miles to a laboratory in a different country. The test is long and the test is expensive. The customer wishes to simplify this, to have a screening test to reduce the cost of doing so. And by using our environmental test kits with our lab in a van, whereby we supply a mobile laboratory with instrumentation from Modern Water, from Microsaics, with trained staff to have a calibrated, verified solution, not only does the customer save money, they can produce more sets of data, they have a more granular result, and they're better able to say, is this soil suitable for accepting within my disposal site?
Interesting. And Victoria, could you also tell us about some specific case where you have used the technology?
Of course, of course. So at Microsaic, we developed miniaturized mass spectrometry, and most of our systems have been implemented at pharmaceutical companies for the development of new drugs and drug discovery. But more recently, we've been looking in the environmental, especially partnering with Modern Water. We actually have one of our systems in a boat off the coast of Germany looking at the effect of munitions on seawater. And then we're also working with Modern Water. We've developed the PFAS detection using our equipment and have implemented that in the lab in the van. And we have a partnership with Swansea University to help develop that method even further and expand, as there's multiple PFAS compounds that we can expand into.
Interesting. And when it comes to protection legislation to protect water, how important would you say that is, Victoria?
I think it's extremely important, and legislation needs to be constantly reviewed and updated. We have chemicals of emerging concern constantly being found in our environment. So the legislation needs to be updated, it needs to be reviewed, and it needs to be, it helps having in-field monitoring to help us do that. A PFAS, again, is a really good example of that. The legislators are constantly putting in stricter and stricter legislation to help protect our water, and especially our drinking water. The US government just announced that they were going to put even stricter regulation in place for PFAS, and this is going to cost polluters potentially billions of dollars. So with in-field monitoring, you can really help ensure that legislation is put in place in the right way, but also you can help these polluters mediate their impact on the environment and help reduce their fines.
And do you want to add something here, John?
Yeah, Victoria is absolutely right. I mean, from the current stricter, tighter testing regimes and fines which are in place, we go all the way back over 100 years to Victorian times. and the establishment of the polluter pays principle. Back then, the seen contaminants were solids, the knowledge that people were becoming ill from contaminated water systems downstream of waste discharges. Then the treatment was to allow settlement to remove solid to improve water amenity and the visual aspects of the water. They were unaware of things like organics, nutrients. These measurements are now routine for us. We legislate, but we also control processes based upon these. We now have additional contaminants which we shall be looking at: pathogens, microplastics, pharmaceuticals, and antibiotic resistance are the new applications that we're challenging. As Victoria said, forever chemicals, PFAS, are absolutely key to us. By having a legislation framework, it lets us treat water, it lets us transport water, but the key being that we mustn't forget that out of sight does not equal out of mind. We have to act as a global community to treat the environment. Also, for legislators to develop new methods, there's a chance to work with researchers, manufacturers, to identify potential solutions, recommend and roll these out through consultants who are designing treatment processes, and then also the contractors who are building sites, as well as resale partners, distributors who have global experiences in lots of different territories of what works less so well, and what needs to be improved. So again, legislation is vital if we have a joined-up approach in the market.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but could you tell us a little bit more? What will be the benefit of using this technology?
Yeah, so like I said before, with the expertise and technology that we have at both Microsaic and Modern Water, we're really looking at solutions-based packages. So the Microsaic technology perfectly complements Modern Water. It's point of need, real-time, online detection. And with the implementation of in-field monitoring as well as lab-based testing, we can really look at large data sets and monitor how these toxins are moving through our environment. And we're really working and listening to our customers to really put together bespoke solutions for them so that they're able to do that.
Great. Do you want to add something here, John?
Absolutely, yeah. By having mobile methods of detection, by having broad scope analysis, means we're able to screen and triage sites for customers. As Victoria said before, in the USA, they have 6,500 sites which need to look at forever chemicals. This is a big body of work that needs to be done. So having a rapid deployment method to screen, prioritize, and identify sites for further investigation and further treatment. Also, we're able to look at solutions whereby not only can we measure, but we can then use treatment methods to treat. This allows our customers to start to understand sites, their processes, the impact to humans, but also the environment as well. It lets them reduce their costs, whether that be fines, whether that be the cost of treating these wastes or this drinking water coming in. And more so than ever before, we're now able to identify and treat legacy pollutants as well. So we can go back on previous generations and examine those previous polluters. For pathogen detection, by having the world's first online detector for pathogens, this allows us not only to send samples to the lab for analysis, but to measure in real-time pathogens for immediate data gathering, for immediate responses to identify the potential size of clusters of disease outbreak. In the worst case, when hospitals need resources such as ventilators, by having real-time data, we can respond some 2 weeks before laboratory tests are able to build up a significant data set. So we're able to very rapidly respond to customers' needs now.
Interesting. And could you also mention a little bit about the Eco Water system?
Yeah, of course. So the EcoWater OS, it's a future live dynamic water system. So this allows us to deliver safe water. It lets us look at a variety of applications, from surface waters, abstraction to drinking water works, through the wastewater, and then out into the environment again. So we can look at a number of different applications. Key to EcoWater is using artificial intelligence, using machine learning to examine data from a number of different instruments, from analyzers. Together, the machine learns to identify trends in the data. It looks at the bad actors that are present, and it will build up trends and identify results that we can't see through manual data processing. The EU Commission position is that an analysis of trends allows us to have valuable data for monitoring the effectiveness of measures put in place. They were talking about virus transmission. So they want to be able to see the previously unseen in our water sources. This monitoring, therefore, allows us to inform preparedness and response measures. It's really critical for member states, therefore, to start to implement effective wastewater surveillance techniques. This ensures that the data provided can reach research agencies, decision makers. For us, our instrument for real-time pathogen detection is called a Microtox PD. We use a nano chip which combines artificial intelligence with optical measurements. We force water through very narrow channels where a machine reads the sample to see whether there's a pathogen presence. This began as a project to measure mastitis in milk, E. coli, bacteria causing ill health, as well as a number of other novel bacteria applications. The challenge being, when COVID arrived 2 years ago, we thought we had a measure to detect viruses. Bacteria are extremely large. Viruses are a tenth of the size of these. And in the case of COVID, we're measuring fragments of the spike compounds there. So the challenge became, from what we could see in bacteria, now we can't see in viruses. The breakthrough came when we started to work with Microsaic, when we started to work with the Tyndall Institute in Cork, when we started to work with the Aptima group. And we realized that if we had a synthetic protein which behaved as Velcro, it could bind onto these fragments of COVID, draw it through the instrument, and improvements in optics allowed us now to see the unseen again. So this gives us real-time measurement of pathogens, and the interest from customers, from health agencies, is to say, we have a number of pathogens. This could be seasonal flu, this could be polio, this could be COVID, it could be novel concerns. So to give a broad-scale wastewater-based epidemiological measurement in conjunction with lab tests.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And then we also have this mobile lab in a van. Could you explain this?
Yeah, of course. So Lab in a Van is our response to talking to customers. No longer do we have a set number of products where the customer chooses the best fit for them. Our job is to speak to customers, to engage with them, to find out their needs, where they need to measure, how they're going to measure, what are the new applications, but also critically, what are their concerns? What stops them? Is it capital budget? Is it maintenance budget? Is it staff? Is it training levels? So one of these conversations has resulted in the Lab in a Van. We have a mobile laboratory. The laboratory is fitted out with online and laboratory instrumentation for toxicity, for metals, for mass spec methods. And with this, we're able to staff the van to give calibrated, verified data sets. Further, the customer comes to us and they say, instruments are good, but we would rather not own these. We would rather that the instruments remain unseen, and what we would like to see is data. So this then allows us in a number of ways to say the customer buys data, and this is either securely transferred through the cloud, or a decentralized server on site, or even records which are transferred with that van moving around. So in terms of the unseen, we arrive at site and we become seen. We take the measurements, which is seen by the customer, and then we go away again. We're unseen. So it all ties together in our theme also.
And what do you want to add on this, Victoria?
Yeah, of course. So the lab in the van was a joint solution really pioneered by Modern Water, and we've included the Microsaic mass spec solution for PFAS and other toxins analysis in the environment. It's a mobile solution, and all of the equipment and technology we have is really point of need, online, in real time. This is really important because majority of water analysis is currently done in centralized labs, which can take weeks to even get your results. Your samples can be traveling thousands of miles. At that point, by the time you have the results, those toxins have passed through the ecosystem and the environment, and you have no real way of triaging that. So now with real-time detection, you can actually take action at the point where the issue is happening. So it's really opens up that availability. And as John said, with the connection with the EcoWater OS, you can really start mapping out how these toxins move through our environment as well.
So it's faster. Is it also cheaper for the customer?
It can be, of course, yeah. It can be. And they take a greater ownership in their own data as well. They're able to take more measurements faster. They get a greater granularity of data, so they better understand these applications. We see that no longer are the technical challenges, are the development of novel methods the barrier, but more so we have the familiar challenges with customers, budget, staff challenges. So they also need solid data sets at a predictable cost with high accuracy, precision of data, and by working together and developing these new measurement and treatment techniques, we're able to address the challenges that the customer asks us to.
And from a cost perspective too, the reduction is not just in the equipment and the data that they're getting, but also the more data sets you're having and the more information you have, for the polluters, the less fines they have to pay as well. And also we're helping the environment too. There's less toxins traveling through our environment, and we have a real understanding of how all of the contaminants we've putting into our environment are traveling through there, and eventually in the water supplies are coming back to us as humans in consumption.
Mm-hmm. So we talked a lot about the opportunities. Could you also mention some of the challenges you see today when it comes to clean water? What do you say, Victoria?
Sure. I think one of the biggest challenges is really utilizing the technology and the methods that we have in a way that helps us map out these toxins. Like I said, we want to see how these toxins are moving through our ecosystems and our environment. It's really important to look at that, not just for ourselves as humans and the consumption of the water that goes through the environment, but also for the animals and other livelihood that lives and consumes that too. I think it's really important with in-field analysis that we're actually able to look at things and triage in real time. And that's one of the main focuses with our partnership with Modern Water and Microsaic, utilizing our online and point of need technology to really be able to see the unseen in real time and take action when we need to.
Very good. And you, John?
Yeah, also, no longer our treatment process is driven by a limited number of single chemical parameters, but the artificial intelligence, the broad scope of parameters and their matrix effects on each other, allows us more so than ever before to predict complex algorithms, to allow for changes, for example, in a drinking water works. The water quality being abstracted allows us to look at things like filtration, coagulation, use of chemicals, taste and odor, reducing customer complaints. It allows us better than ever before to say, well, this is now an optimization based upon larger data sets. And the effect for the customer is that they better understand the water, they save money, their treatment processes are more effective, and they have more end product, water or clean water, as a direct result of that.
Well, thank you both so much.
you.
Very interesting.
Thank you, Åsa.
Thank you for having
and
us.
learn a little bit more about this. And thank you for watching.
Thank
you.
you.
Nu blev jag a little confused.